Hello there. Welcome back to our Alpine one season hard challenge. And currently, we're going to try and finish off this season, hopefully, within the next few days here. We'll have to see exactly when this video releases, but the goal, of course, is to finish this season within this video. And we do have quite a number of races remaining. We're going to go into Spa in just a few days, and then we're going to try and get all the way to Abu Dhabi and see if we can catch up to and beat Red Bull, as we're currently not in the greatest of positions. We are a good 50 points behind them. Last time around they did barely beat us, but Ferrari actually did better than both of us. And in the driver championship, Perez is currently carrying Red Bull a little bit, but Gasly is definitely doing well for us. But let's face it, Ocon has not had a good time in this series because he has kind of demolished his car way more than we anticipated. Let's put it this way: halfway through the season, and we've already gone through two engines. It's not a good. It's not a good look. Let's be perfectly honest. But with that said, we are going to jump into Belgium here, and we are going to try and just get through these last 11 races today. That's going to be the goal. Now, as I mentioned, Ocon has destroyed his car, and I believe that we also have a bit of a development freeze coming up. Did we not? If I remember. Yeah, all design work paused. We have to approve this. Everything gets delayed by 10 days. Not much we can really do about that. But we are also kind of running out of really upgrades that we can make at this point, because there isn't too much that we can do in order to try and get, well, squeeze more performance out of the car. This we could do, but let's be honest, even this would be sacrificing a little bit too much of the engine cooling. So yeah, this probably wouldn't be a terrible idea. I don't know why we're getting that much more top speed. Are we using a terrible version of something right now? Oh yeah, we haven't actually made the final addition on the side pods. That explains it. Let's just go through here, see what we have. The chassis we are currently upgrading. The front wing we have kind of reached the end of. We are working a little bit more on the rear wing. Side pods, I do believe we need to make the final addition. Underfloor, suspension. We're getting a few upgrades here for kind of everything. Sorry about it's going reacquainting all of us with this, because it's been quite a while since we last did this. But yeah, I think what we need to do is actually do go ahead and make those side pods for top speed for the most part. And I think this wouldn't be a terrible idea. That's a huge amount of extra top speed that we would be getting. So I'm actually quite happy with getting this made. 45 million left of the cost cap. We aren't so far behind Red Bull that I think we need to rush this. We do have summer break coming up. So let's say get this done for Singapore would be very much be acceptable. So we're going to go ahead and just confirm this. It's still going to take quite a while because we did have a development freeze. But it seems like maybe reloading the save after so long has yeah, kind of broken that freeze a little bit, which is weird. But let's just get done here with the Belgian GP. We do have a sprint weekend. We do have a lot of stuff coming up, so hopefully we'll be able to make something happen. And honestly, we will not break the car too much this time around. That's going to be my hope. Race prep, Belgian GP. I think we will guarantee one car on the podium, maybe. Be a little bit brave. We do need money. And both cars should reach Q2 and Q3 easily. But yeah, let's jump to Belgium. Let's see how we do. Then we will develop our car over the summer break. I actually forgot just how much damage Ocon had done to our car. But he's basically already used 2 ERSs. Basically. He's already broken 4 gearboxes. So yeah, Ocon definitely has been driving a little bit more aggressive than we'd probably like. But yeah, let's just see if we can get something out of Belgium here. So the Belgium sprint didn't really go our way, as we ended up losing a position for both Ocon and Gasly after a pretty mediocre qualifying due to rain. So yeah, not a good start to this session here. We only scored 6 points here, while Red Bull scored 13. So they're probably going to be able to extend their lead a little bit more, honestly. But what we are lacking here is definitely the top speed. So it's not really a big surprise that we are getting kind of outdone in Belgium, because of the fact that we are lacking, as I said, unsurprisingly, top speed. So we do need to keep that in mind. I think we might try something a little bit cheeky here, potentially. Potentially something like this. I think it's not a terrible idea, honestly. Could be a better idea to start on the medium, as it will be up to temperature. Then go over to the soft tire, or we can actually go medium if we really wanted. Like so. But I think a medium into 2 softs is going to be probably a bit quicker. Degradation here isn't exactly, you know, insane. So we should be able to maybe do something like this. And how is that looking? This is still 5 seconds quicker. So medium into a soft is actually the best thing that we can do here. And we do want to use the soft towards the end to get any overtakes done, catch up a little bit to the cars ahead. So this is what we're gonna do. It should be very viable around here. And let's see if we can improve our position a little bit more, and maybe, just maybe, catch up a little bit to the Red Bull. So already we have a bit of an interesting race on our hands there, as we've gone full safety car. And the question now becomes, do we try and pit under this safety car? Most cars here are around the 70 to 60% mark. Bottas apparently has been in an incident with Sargent by looking at things towards the back. Perez had a bit of a lockup early on, which caused him to go to the back of the grid. But we've had a fairly good start here, and the question now, as mentioned, becomes, do we take advantage and try and pit under safety car? It's going to basically force us to switch up the strategy a little bit. But I think it's going to be worth it to get in here and just straight up pit. And even if the others don't, they stick to the one-stopper, and we end up losing some positions as a result, I'd still say that it's worth it, because the pit stop or pit time lost there is estimated to be 8 seconds. Even 16 seconds here with out of safety car, or because, you know, they still need to catch up to the safety car, isn't really a big deal. We're going to end up losing some positions here. Mainly Gasly's going to suffer tremendously. But I think with the 8-second time and the fact that, you know, there is a safety car, I think the entire grid is going to jump in. So there's no need for us not to take advantage.
This was the 7th corner. The cars jostling for position. Oh,
I'd say that's quite the impact on the Williams for the most part there. He basically ran straight into the wall. But yeah, everyone is going to be pitting under this. Can almost guarantee it. And we do have a 5-second gap. So Ocon and Gasly here should have no problems with the pit stops. Ocon's already left. Gasly is now pitting. And looks like we did lose out slightly here to Russell, unfortunately. But even then, this is an acceptable. This is an acceptable outcome over this pit stop. So yeah, race kind of nullified. We might need to run the final soft stint on aggressive, even standard. But pitting under the safety car here is just a no-brainer. It's something we had to do. So yeah, let's see if we can still turn this race into something good.
Okay.
So unfortunately here we end up 4th and 5th with Verstappen winning. Then we have the 2 Ferraris. Unfortunately we couldn't catch Sainz again, as Ocon did have a pit stop error, and after that the boys were kind of just being nuisances to each other. Perez made his way back into 7th, so honestly a pretty terrible race weekend altogether for us. So we definitely do need to get those final addition pieces on the car to be more competitive in the latter half of this season. There's just no other way around it. As you can see, Sainz improved a good 10 places, but yeah. Red Bull scoring a huge amount of points here compared to us. Perez is getting caught up a little bit here by Gasly, but Verstappen with 34 points here is just massive. So as you can imagine, Red Bull extends their lead by a good 17 points here. Not great or anything like that, but yeah, this pit stop from Ocon definitely did throw a wrench into the plans, and I do think we would have been able to get the podium if not for that. Unfortunately, though, we are going to have to pay a penalty as we didn't get either car on the podium. But yeah, we'll just have to deal with that as we go. So yeah, I do actually have something to say though, because I was mindlessly ignoring the fact that we are actually getting hit by the 10-day design freeze. It's just added to the design here, in this case the side pods, because well, they are supposed to take 35 days, not 45, as they did initially. So as you can imagine, that's just me being a little bit silly, I guess is the best way you can put it. We're also just going to put an extra engineer on it, get it done as quick as can be. And we also have a failed sideboard here. So I think what we do is maybe we just make 2 of these. That way we'll have them until we get the new sideboards. That should be okay. And other than that, the chassis here now, we have enough for both cars. We're also going to go ahead and just make the maximum we can, because we'll be using them until the end. And other than that, we also now have the underfloor. But yeah, we'll have to see here. We have front wing, rear wing, suspension coming in. And this rear wing, I assume, is going to be the final edition. We'll have it for Dutch GP. Same here with the suspension. So we'll take a look at that in 10 days' time. So the final edition suspension here that we have designed is one where we sacrifice a lot of our brake cooling in exchange for our top speed. And honestly, right now, I'm not really too confident using that suspension. I understand why we did it. It's because it's a do all or nothing play. So we are going to go ahead and manufacture them for the time being, but we'll have to see if we actually end up using them. We might have to, honestly, but it's going to be a bit of a difficult choice to make no matter how we do it. Now, as you can see, this rear wing here is not the final edition rear wing because, well, it's focused on cornering rather than top speed and DRS effectiveness. So we are going to have to do another design. That is going to be, I would assume, our final edition rear wing. This is basically just to give us a little bit of extra cornering efficiency from our rear wing. And as you can see, we still get a bunch of top speed. We still get a bunch of DRS. So this rear wing is actually going to be quite huge in terms of a performance gain. So we're going to go ahead and rush this one, put as many engineers as we have available on it, and it'll be done in 19 days, meaning that for Monza, which is actually quite important rear wing wise, we could rush and get 2 wings ready for that, but that's kind of a hard choice to make. Now also I do understand that because it's been so long since I last visited the save, that I'm having kind of trouble keeping up, and honestly I will be working in the future at least to make a little bit of a backlog, so when I do these 1 season challenges, I'll just do them in 1 sitting, as that'll help with continuity as well. So yeah, it's just been a bit of a busy period that I did not see coming. That has made things a little bit harder for me in terms of planning. Guess the chassis could get a little bit more work, honestly. Not really a lot we can do with it though. We're gonna have to use the CFD period if we want to improve it. Honestly, at this point, there isn't really much we can do to improve any of these pieces much. And that is, of course, as you could expect, a bit of an issue. Let's see if we do this. We sacrifice a little bit of the medium speed, but we gain... Honestly, I'd rather sacrifice medium speed and get that top... Honestly, this is a way better suspension than one that we currently did design with the... where we lose 10% brake cooling. We're going to make this one as well, and we are going to rush it, even though we have very little time left, 40 days. We'll have it for Lucille. I guess that's acceptable. Lucille is hard anyways. 5 days for the front wing. I'm curious to see what exactly that is going to entail, but yeah. It is very, very bad that the continuity is this bad on these videos, and I'm not happy with it. But at the same time, it's either sit down, make it, or take forever to get a video out. Okay, now I see what I did. I made the suspension broken so we could have this front wing kind of go with it. But we don't need this front wing no more. Can we make another front wing that would be an actual improvement though? Let's see. Would be something like this. This wouldn't be a terrible front wing. Honestly, it would improve all our cornering. The dirty air, the brake cooling. We'd slap up the weight a little bit. Question now becomes, is the gain worth it to have to replace our front wing every race? Honestly, this is actually worth it to just make. So let's go ahead and confirm that. And we'll see exactly what we end up using the safety period on, because I'm still a little bit undecided on that. But now, though, we should be able to replace the side pod. Honestly, we're just going to use this one for both cars, as it's going to make life a little bit easier. And we'll have to see what we do here with the components, because we are going to have to buy quite a lot of components as well. And that's kind of why I think a design freeze is going to happen, whether we want it or not, fairly soon. And we can actually speed up here the sidepod design by a week. So that is actually pretty good. So that means they're done now in 11 days. So basically, as soon as the Dutch Grand Prix weekend is over, we're going to get those sidepods. That's actually a huge boost for us. A huge boon. But yeah, it's, again, I hate the fact that continuity is this bad when I end up having different things to do. So I think after this one season challenge, it's going to be a little bit while before we see the next one, as I will be focusing on just building a little bit of backlog, a couple of weeks worth probably, just so that I can sit down and spend a week getting, you know, one of these seasons done, week and a half, however long I need, and then split it up into 2 or 3 episodes depending on what is going on. We're still going to try and get on the podium here in Zandvoort. We're going to go for both drivers in Q3. So let's see if we can have a bit of a better result here at Verstappen's home race. Hi there. Once again, we find one of our drivers in a very, very interesting situation. And in this case, it is indeed Ocon, once again, that has found the wall. And not only found the wall, but he has, well, shredded one tire. That much is for certain. Currently running aggressive on his inters. He has absolutely shredded his gearbox, his ERS, and his engine, which means that, if I'm not mistaken, he has none of those left. Maybe a 6 gearbox. But yeah, it's not looking good for dear old Ocon here. And of course, the chassis, rearing, and suspension has gone as well. So, what started out as a very, very promising race here is no longer very promising, as he has crashed on turn 3.
Here's the replay. Right, let's have a look now. Around turn 3.
I don't even get how he's pulled that off and how he suffered that much damage, but he has. And with that, we now have a virtual safety car, and Verstappen basically has a full pit stop out of the rest of the field here. So, as you can imagine, it's not looking very good for us in the championship at this point. And, well, we do have Inters here for a little while. That's going to be one thing. It is going to go over to dry again in, well, just a little bit over 15 laps time. So, I honestly don't know what we can do at this point. Of course, for Gasly, we are going to need to try and just get past Alonso here as soon as this incident is cleared. That much is for certain. But yeah, we have to try and get second place there. No way we're catching Verstappen. And it is a shame that this attempt, if you will, has just been straight up plagued by unlucky incidents. Because that is honestly the best way I can put it. Ocon has been destroying so much of the car and the budget, for that matter, that I don't really see us making a comeback at this point. It's going to be difficult, at the very least, to do. So we'll have to see. Now, first things first, we are going to have to try and clear Alonso fairly rapidly here. The funny part is, before Ocon crashed, Alonso just barely overtook us. I believe the cars were actually kind of side by side. So not only did Ocon kind of screw over himself, but he also screwed over Gasly in the process by kind of getting him stuck here somewhat behind Alonso. And honestly, our cars are bad at following. It is a weakness. And I don't think we're going to be able to clear Alonso, but we're going to try and cool down the tires again and give it a couple more tries before we do get back onto the dry tires. So luckily for us, Gasly has managed to get past Alonso and is slowly creating a gap here, but it did cost a lot of tire wear, it did cost a lot of basically resources. On the other hand, the wet period here is kind of being extended until lap 50, which means that we can run a soft on standard, which is kind of what we're planning to do here to the end. Or we could do a hard on full attack, as we don't have any other mediums. Now, also, just a quick heads up here, I did kind of walk away from my computer after Ocon crashed, so between Ocon crashing and me recording this, it's probably been an hour as I went to the store and did a little bit of cleaning, but you can probably understand my frustration there. We'll have to see if we can actually recover from this, though, and that's one of my main concerns, because this is actually going to be quite hard to recover from, both from a financial perspective, but also from the lack of points being scored here. The only saving grace is that Paris is basically far down the grid order. He's probably going to get Stroll and Russell, let's be honest here, before the end of the race. But we have been losing so many points from Ocon's DNFs that straight up his crashes could cost us this season. There's just no other way. There's just no other way to describe it. And hopefully here, Piastri will not be holding us up. So we are getting back onto the dry now, and the question is, do I do another lap or do we jump in immediately? I think with a 2-second gap to Alonso, I think the players should just run full attack, do one more lap so we can actually use the softs properly. It's either that or we go on the softs now on light, but I think we do one more lap just to be on the safe side. Some cars are going to start to jump in pretty soon here, but I do believe that doing the softs on standard is going to be the best option that we have here. And then we'll just have to try and hold Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, you know, the entire gang behind us. There's just no other way around it. There's just no other way to play this, as Verstappen 2 is pitting on this lap, so you kind of get it there. Let's see if Gasly can pull off a clean pit stop, or if we're going to be in trouble here, as everyone is pitting around the same time. Bit of a slow stop, but we do come out in the same place as we entered, so that is at least good. But yeah, Verstappen is, as I said, a pit stop ahead of us, so no chance whatsoever that we do catch him. But we'll try and keep Sainz and Alonso at bay, so let's see how these last 23 laps go. Verstappen has started the final lap here. We're still in second. We have 5 seconds down to Sainz, who actually did catch up to us, but ended up destroying his tyres. And we're kind of seeing Perez here too, destroying his tyres a little bit, but probably not enough that Russell is going to catch him. Sainz also has the fastest lap here, which honestly we're pretty happy with. We don't really have the energy of fuel here to really get it back ourselves, so we're going to allow him to just hold on to that. But yeah, Gasly coming in here in second is actually going to be huge. It's a little bit of a, you know, damage reduction, damage control. Did he just say Esteban P2?
What a masterclass!
Did he just say Esteban P2? No, it's Pierre Gasly P2. Thank you very much. But yeah, Sainz gets fast lap. We score a second place here. So once again, we end up losing a good 11 points to Red Bull. Not really much we can do with that. We are square now, however, with Paris in the driver standings. And that might be, honestly, the only championship we will have a chance to go for here, as this is now Ocon's 4th DNF in 14 races. That is worrisome. That is really, really worrisome. And not only that, but he had a pit sparrow too. So, yeah, Ocon not having a good time in this series at all. And as I said, I was hoping to get everything done this session, but potentially, yeah, we could see us get nothing done. We have the Italian GP in 4 days, and as you can see here, this one is going to be an upgrade in terms of top speed, downgrade in terms of cornering, and that is fine. Apparently, we have been demoted. Do we need to replace car pots? Yeah, we do. Question here now, how much do we actually have? We have the new suspension, put that on both cars. For now, though, we're just going to have to do this, and we are going to probably have to go for these new front wings to kind of cancel that out. 6 days, we're going to rush it, get 2 of them done for the race weekend. It's just what we kind of have to do here. I really wanted to make more parts to be on the safe side, but yeah. Financially, we are in such dire straits that we can't really afford to do that. We need to plan things, and I think losing this amount of cornering is acceptable to get half a kph of top speed. So let's go ahead and get these made. We're gonna have them done for Singapore. Let's make 3 of them for now. We just need to survive this coming race weekend. That's going to be the big one. Rear wing, both of those failed. We do have... well, one has failed. We do have this one that we could make, so we're going to make one of those. We're going to have... well, can actually... yeah, we're going to have to install this in one car, this on the other one, and then get that final rear wing project done. So yeah, it's painful. That's the best way I can describe it. We do need to change the front wing here. The rear wing here, we're going to put on a new one, so that'll be fine. We basically have the car part fixed. But the powertrain here for Ocon now. Luckily, we were using a lower engine. I was very, very scared that we were using this brand new one. Mostly because, again, I was just expecting it to be completely destroyed. But that means we are already done with our 30 RS for Ocon. And 3 RSs are usually more than enough to survive a season. We're barely halfway. Gearbox, though. 5th gearbox is destroyed. We're going to need a new ERS, a new gearbox at the next race. Honestly, at this point, taking a new engine too wouldn't be a terrible idea. But yeah, as you can imagine, Ocon is just destroying his car. Every chance he's getting this season. And it's not fun. Really isn't. It does make things frustrating, and even if you do run everything kind of as careful as you can, he'll still go ahead and get that done. Okay, so I made a mistake here, as we have actually gotten the new rear wing. 2 days, I'm going to cancel this project. I should have checked it, but let's be honest, with Ocon's shenanigans, it's just keeping me a little bit on edge, let's put it like that. We're going to rush 2 of these rear wings because we kind of can. We'll get one done for practice at Monza. And front wing suspension is not going to be done until 21 and 31 days. I think we are just going to have to leave the design slots open until we get our new CFD period in 6 days. And then we're going to have to make a decision on what to spend it on. So, yeah, I'm still lost for words. That's the best way I can describe this whole seance. But yeah, let's see what we can put together here going into Monza. The race prep, we are missing car parts. The aerodynamics, the front wing, we're going to swap out for the new one for both cars. So we don't lose all of our, well, cornering ability. For the rear wing here, we're going to put on the new one for car 2, which I believe is Gasly. Yeah, I'm correct there. Just double checking. And in terms of the car analysis here, the other cars are catching up with us. We are struggling with top speed. Honestly, I should be looking at the second car because that is the current most upgraded one. And as you can see, it's back up into being being one of the better ones. But the dirty air is a problem. Our cooling is now going to be a bit of a problem as well. Top speed is looking nicer. But if we take a look again at the Red Bull, we aren't that far behind. We're basically caught up there in the top speed department. Acceleration is going to be an issue, but that's because of engine, so nothing really can do with that. Car-wise, we are kind of destroying them slightly. Well, we're not really destroying them. We're just slightly ahead car-wise. Let's face it, these stats are incredibly close. So, I need Ocon to be on full form. And actually, Red Bull has shed a lot of weight. They're under 5 kilograms extra weight. That is actually massive. Driver update here. Adaptability and cornering for our boys. And yeah, that's about it. Performance targets, qualifying position streak. Both drivers in Q3 for 5 races. That should not be a big deal. We can try and go for fastest lap. Q2, one car qualifying. Sorry, both cars in Q2 and Q3. And we'll try and deal with Monza here. Now for training pit crew here, we aren't going to focus too much on that. For now, we're just going to try and survive and get back into the fight. Because right now, we're getting very, very perilously close to that 100 points behind mark. And, well, we're running out of tracks to get back on. So, we do need to get those new parts in, namely the rear wing and the side pods. Once we get the side pods up and running, before Singapore, we should be good. The rear wing, we'll put the other one on Ocon's car after P2. And other than that, I'm just going to double check here the warehouse and see where we're at. We're going to go ahead and make one more chassis just so we have some spare. Front wings here, make 2 more for the time being. We might use CFD time on front wing, although we are already making a decent front wing to be fair. side pods. We're making these new ones that are actually going to lose to some cornering, but give us a lot of top speed. That is good. The underfloor, honestly, safety period, the underfloor again might be the play here. We'll have to see. And for the suspension, we just don't have any manufacturing capability, although we're also getting a new suspension pretty soon. So we are kind of solving all of our weaknesses at the moment, and then we'll probably go back to that new front wing, or even, you know, the new front wing. So I think we are kind of sorted. It might sound like I'm a little bit flustered, a little bit negative, but honestly, we're not really in a bad spot. It's just very unfortunate that Ocon is having so much fun currently destroying his car to the level that he is. And honestly, at this point, we're just going to focus on lowering the chance of pit stop errors, because there's so little left of the season that we're not really going to be able to lower the pit stop time by much anyways. And this is just a one-shot, so we'll keep things as is and do a revision of the pit crew come Japan. So this should help a little bit on the error chance, hopefully. That's all I can really pray for. And with that, let's go into Italy and see if we can maybe have some sort of a recovery here. So qualifying for Monza went surprisingly well, with Ocon getting second place and Gasly getting third, with Verstappen having a pretty insane lap here. That's the best way I can describe it. But it is looking good. We have Paris down in 8th, and if he keeps up this underperforming, I can see us having a good chance of catching up to them, provided that we do start winning races. Now, for Ocon, he is going to be eating a bit of a penalty here. Apparently just a 5-place grid penalty, even though we did switch both ERS and gearbox. So that's interesting. But yeah, he apparently was just demoted 5 places for switching both of those components. So I'll take it. I guess we have used enough components now that they don't really have any big penalties left for us. I think what we're going to do here is probably switch around these two stints, in the sense that I want us to start on the hard tire, then go on to the medium, and run the hard tire a little bit more full speedy. Let's put it like that. And we can, of course, take care of the medium afterwards. That should be the quickest strategy available to us, unless, say, we start on the hard, then we go onto a medium, and then we go onto the other hard that we used during qualifying. That would be probably the only other option, but even that, as you can see, is not necessarily a lot quicker, just 2 seconds, and you end up with kind of the same amount of stops. But we can see it where we are once we get done with the first stint, and then make a decision from there. And honestly, we're just going to put Gasly on that same strategy. He is starting pretty far up next to Verstappen, so if we can run a bit of an aggressive first stint, that would be kind of good. So that's going to be the plan here. Let's see if it turns into a good result for both of our boys. We kind of need it at this point. And Gasly's ERS, and also, well, mainly just ERS, is getting to a point where we are going to need to buy a replacement, and he's going to have to take a penalty. Let's see if we might do that at Japan, potentially. Should be a little bit friendlier than Singapore in terms of overtaking. But yeah, let's see how this race goes, and if we maybe, just maybe, score some points. As it turns out, our strategy here at Monza has played out beautifully so far. Just 3 laps to the end here. Gasly is running with Verstappen with pretty much comparable tires. Same can be said for Ocon versus Sainz. Both of them around 40%, but on different tires. And that is kind of the long game here. We're playing for first and third, potentially, with Paris down in 9th, meaning that we still have a pretty decent chance here at scoring some good points. And I think this is the... Maybe this is when we start attacking with Gasly. Next lap, we basically guaranteed. Ocon does have a little bit less tire available to him, which is a problem. But for Gasly here, the game now is just going to be to pull away, I think. And we already have 4 tenths here now. Going down the main straight, we have full energy. And honestly, once we cross the line here, it's just going to be 2 laps remaining. So with that, we are going to go ahead and push on this lap for Gasly. I think we'll wait 1 more lap for Ocon just to be on the safe side. He is going to be able to, I'm pretty sure, overtake Sainz on the start of the final lap, no problem. And Gasly is creating a little bit of gap here. Nothing too major though, and that is a little bit of a worry. but just about enough here to get the job done, I'd say. Now, for Ocon, we are going to need him now to get the overtake done, so we'll put him to attack, push, and deploy, and we'll see what he can pull off now. As the goal will be, as the final lap starts, to just get the overtake done, and we're going to do a little bit of a risky move here and put him to high overtake aggression, which is probably not the smartest thing I've ever done, I'll be honest, but it needs to be done, and we need to give him that little bit of extra edge to ensure that he gets by Sainz. He does. And now the question is, can he stay ahead? I think he will. As you can see here, we also have a little bit of a back marker there, playing a helping hand to Gasly, which is great. The only thing we really need to pay attention to right now is Ocon's fuel, that we don't run out before we get to the finish line. And as it looks right now, Gasly is safe, crossing the line, and Ocon has just about now hit the 30% mark. But with just one corner, well, not even a corner, just a straight remaining, he does secure third place. And with that, we finally are back with a decent race weekend. Paris ends up 9th, which means that we're finally closing the gap a little bit to Red Bull again. And once we do get those final pieces up and running, I think we'll close the gap even more here. As you can see, Paris is scoring 2 points, Verstappen 18, 20 points total for them. We score over 40, so that is actually very huge, as Gasly also gets the fastest lap. Driver championship then, Gasly is still in lead, Verstappen moves past his teammate, Ocon catches up a little bit here, but still gonna have a lot of work ahead of him to catch up to Paris, at the very least. But yeah, it's a good follow-up of the crash that we had last race weekend, and we do catch up here by 21 points, meaning that potentially we could catch Red Bull before the end of the season if we can keep this going, and particularly considering that we did get a new gearbox and new ERS for Ocon, it's actually pretty huge from that perspective as well. New ERS period has begun, and we're gonna have to make a little bit of a decision here on how we want to spend it. And as I said, I am kind of tempted here to go with another underfloor. Just get that little bit of extra boost on the cornering and top speed, because again, works for basically everything. So it probably wouldn't be a terrible idea to go ahead with this. But I just want to see kind of what can we expect if I were to do this. So this isn't a bad gain. It's a pretty balanced overall gain. And of course, we see the bigger gain once we're done with the first project. But I also do want to see how expectations would be on the chassis. The chassis is kind of falling behind, or it's weak, just under 70% here, which honestly isn't that bad if you consider, you know, how it looks versus, say, the underfloor, which is kind of in the same manner. And yeah, it would definitely be way better to do an underfloor. So I think that's going to be the play here. We do underfloor, side pods here, 75%. Drag reduction, remember, but this isn't the final edition of side pods, really. We're still making those. They're still in production for Singapore. Do we actually have one made that got finished over the weekend, maybe? Let's have a look. We do. Let's put that in car 1, so we can get a proper analysis of what we can expect from the new side pods. And as you can see, 65, 69, 65. We have kind of balanced it out here a little bit, but it's kind of what we need to do. So even if we do put in CFD time here, I don't think the gains are going to be large enough that it would outdo the underfloor. And that's kind of the only thing we need to consider if we were to do this. We could sacrifice some engine cooling, but as you can see, we do get a lot of speed. But honestly, we are going to have to do something like this because the cooling is already low. Financially, we aren't in a great spot. So I think, honestly, the best option that we have available to us, aside from, say, do the front wing, is just invest in the underfloor, because it gives us a boost across the board. It boosts everything. And not only that, we'll be able to, of course, make another one afterwards that's going to be even better. So we can expect probably double these gains once we get CFD time down. So we're going to do underfloor. It's going to take 40 days to get this done. We're going to have it done. We're going to have the final edition underfloor for the last 4 races. And it could come in very, very much come in clutch then. So even with the cost here, 4 million out of a 25 million cost cap remaining, we're going to go ahead and invest this because we kind of have to. So it is what it is. We'll deal with it. We'll have to take it. And with that, we're just gonna speed along into Singapore Grand Prix and see how some of these new parts actually do end up affecting us. So suspension-wise, I don't think we need to make another one right now. Side pod, we are manufacturing it. I'm not worried about that. Rear wings are on the car. Chassis, we do need to make a couple more rear wings though, I'm pretty sure. Just gonna double check here if we are designing some. I don't think we are, but I have been wrong before, so might as well double check. Just make 2 extra rear wings normally, and then we will now head into Singapore and see what it has to offer. Suspension is in low stock, that's because we're making new ones. And we're also hitting a regulation change here, financial changes. I'm voting against this on principle. It's basically, again, less money for the bottom teams, more money for the top teams. Don't like that. So let's go ahead and vote it down. By this point, we should have the side pods here for the second car ready too, and we do. And we're going to go ahead now, once we get to the race weekend, just run a really quick car analysis compared to the Red Bull. And as you can see now, the Red Bull is actually slightly ahead on medium speed, but it's slightly. We're basically equal. Same can actually be said for the high speed cornering. Same can almost be said for the low speed. We only have them beat in top speed at this point, honestly. So getting that little bit extra cornering from the underfloor could turn out to be the difference we need. Verstappen is an amazing driver in the game, so we do have our work cut out for us in that perspective. But as long as we keep on performing with 2 cars, as long as we keep on snatching that the victory, I still think we'll catch up to Red Bull and beat them by the end of this. That's really going to be the challenge here. So with that in mind, let's jump into Singapore. Let's see how we do. So we've had yet another incident here. Luckily this time it's Paris and not one of our boys with a bit of a incident in Q1. Paris has slammed into the wall, and I do believe our boys are safe in 3rd and 5th. Don't really see us getting knocked out with these laps. But yeah, that is another potential big wrench in the Red Bull plan. So maybe we're getting a little bit of not really justice, but basically maybe luck is a little bit on our side this time around, with Paris now out. Unfortunately, Verstappen would have been a better target for, you know, RNG, but we'll still take Paris out. Again, unfortunate, but sometimes it just happens. So far, the Singapore GP has gone well. We are getting closer to the end, with Gasly in 4th hunting down Verstappen, and Ocon currently leading ahead of Leclerc, who is on even more worn hard tyres than our soft SARs, so we do have a little bit of an advantage there. Now, the fights are going to be Ocon versus Leclerc, Verstappen versus Gasly, but honestly, I'd argue that we have a bit of an advantage in both of these fights, as, well, we do have probably more in the tank, if you will, than our opponents do. So, with 2 laps to go now, we're on lap 61 out of 62, this lap and then one more. Ocon has just started. We are going to go ahead and start pushing a little bit more. In Ocon's case here, we're going to try and create a bit more of a gap. We're going to go attack until we get through this DRS zone, and then see if we can get away from Leclerc. Unfortunately, probably not going to get fastest lap here. I just don't see an easy way to get that done. And for Gasly here, we're going to start doing the same, trying to get past Verstappen. And for Gasly here, we might have to go a little bit high on the overtake aggression, which does carry its own risks, but looks like Gasly might just get the job done here, as it got side by side in the entry to the DRS zone, and then just flies by. In Ocon's case, he's already created the gap needed to Leclerc, and is extending it now in the final lap. So the question is just, can Gasly hold Verstappen at bay currently? And honestly, Leclerc's 2nd place isn't something that is too terrible for us. It's actually a very much acceptable result. So both cars beating both Red Bulls would be honestly the best we could ask for. And that does seem to be what is going to happen here. In Gasly's case here, the minor damage is to the ERS, which we will replace at Japan rather than here. So Ocon wins, Gasly comes 3rd, Leclerc 2nd, then 4th and 5th for the Red Bulls. That is a very, very good result for us in our, well, hunt for the Red Bulls. And we'll see how we stack up now after this race weekend. So Ocon first, Gasly third. Verstappen does get fastest lap, and as you can see, Paris started last, but he made his way up to 5th. So honestly, that's a bit disappointing. Would have been much better for us if he hadn't done that. But it is what it is. Gasly still gains a couple more points on Verstappen. Ocon gains a bunch on everyone ahead. And in the constructors then now we gain another 17 points on them, meaning we're just back to being 44 points behind. So we're getting closer if we keep this up. 2-3 more race weekends and we'll be up there. Now with that said, excuse me, my voice is giving a little bit in there. With that said, we're just going to jump directly into Japan here. We do have the suspension sign coming up. But honestly, as I said, financially, we're not in a position where we are going to be designing anything but the underfloor, really. We're going to make another underfloor, and that's going to be it, probably. So let's jump to Japan, see what we can do. So the new suspension that we did design does alleviate the issue of brake cooling. We're going to lose a little bit of cornering, a little bit of top speed. But honestly, I think we'll take the brake cooling just so we can avoid lockups a little bit more. It's going to take us a month to make the 4 pieces that we would need to probably get to the end of the season. So we're going to go ahead and get that started, and that takes another 1.2 million out of our cost cap, which of course is quite expensive. Now in terms of other things we need to manufacture, we are going to manufacture another side pod because we are going to be using them till the end. So with that, let's just jump into Japan. Although we do actually have a design happening over the course of the weekend, but unfortunately we're going to have to wait until the weekend ends before we can actually take a look at that. So yeah, let's just speed into Japan here, see how we do. So we are going to buy a new ERS here for Gasly because we kind of have to, and honestly, it's this or we do it in Austin. So we're going to go ahead and buy that new one to get going. But yeah, let's see how we do during qualifying. I think Japan will be a good result for us, although Gasly, as mentioned, will be taking a penalty. We'll have to see if he can perform as well as Perez did at Singapore. Japan quali here has started with a red flag. I don't know who has caused it, but Perez and Verstappen are both safely through. So that's unfortunate for Tsunoda at his home race. He's out in quali. But yeah, that is very unfortunate for, well, a lot of the cars here, as the qualities in Japan are going to be wet. We got out well here with 1-2, Verstappen, Perez behind. Sainz got his run done. Leclerc is now in danger, and same with Alonso, and also I believe that is Russell. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. It's still dry. I think the weather broke because of the red flag. It did. So the AI is actually safer and could potentially be dangerous because of this. As you can see, the weather broke with no data. So potentially they could all improve their time. So no one really got screwed over, I guess. But yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. We'll have to see now if Perez and Verstappen do improve their times. They do. But the no data is generally not a good thing for the player. It does seem like it's just... I've had a couple of cases where it was wet. We got no data. The track dried, but it didn't act as dry for me. But the AI had it in case. So luckily we got this during qualifying rather than the race itself. It's a bit of a weird bug, honestly. Because... basically, if you get enough red flags, your race will run out of simulated weather. As funny as that sounds. But yeah, looks like everyone made it safely through qualifying. Everyone there that we're worried about, the Ferraris, the Red Bulls. So nothing really can do about that there. And as you can see, Gasly's taking a penalty, and Alonso and Russell. So nothing really going to happen with the penalties, I think, which is a tad unfortunate. But we are not expecting rain for the race itself, which is also another reason why we have elected to take the penalties here. I want our cars to get out first because it just seems better. 4 minutes until rain, 3 minutes now. Could probably run last there with Verstappen, but he should be safe. But in theory, if he's unlucky, he could get a little bit of early rain. I'm still pretty... Oh, never mind. Okay. He ran last. I don't think there was rain that caused him some problems there, but even then, that's a pretty bad lap time. He had a lot of free space too ahead of him. And unless we get another red flag that gives him, you know, no weather, he's going to be out in Q1. which would be huge for us. Sorry, Q2. This would actually be a huge thing, honestly. But yeah, looks like there is not going to be any real improvement from the weather here. It is estimated to be wet and just wetter here until the end. So stopping out in Q2. Let's see how we do in Q3. So for Q3, we end up in a bit of an interesting position where the first run was done purely on wet tires, and we're actually going to have a dry spell now towards the end. Even though I was promised that it's just going to go inters, the weather did change pretty rapidly and we're going to have to reconfigure our cars. Now, the others are already out here, and honestly, I'm kind of tempted to wait until the 2-minute mark to send out our cars. Get as little rain on the track as possible, and maybe manually control it. But we are going to have a little bit of a problem here with cars being in the way. So I think we don't really have much of a choice here but to send the cars out now between Leclerc and Perez, so that we only have one overtake to do on the dry tires themselves, because we have to make it around the track to, you know, the outlap. So we're going to send Ocon out, we're going to send Gasly out, but we're going to take manual control here. And I actually did send Gasly out a little late here. We're going to take manual control, make sure we get heat in the tires, make sure we use as much fuel as possible. And we're going to do the same here with Gasly. And because we've done this, it actually now counts as a bit of an aggressive lap. And as you can see, we're kind of holding up Stroll right now as a result of that. And it is definitely an oversight, but you can actually screw over other cars like this. We've definitely cost Stroll his entire run. It's just no better way to look at it, really. And for Ocon now, we're going to start the attack. As I said, Ocon has a good run here. We gave Gasly pretty shitty prep. Let's be honest, that's the best way I can put it. Let's see now what we can do, as Gasly is going to get into the twisty section for the overtakes. It's going to cost a lot of time. So yeah, I did definitely screw over Gasly here massively. Ocon, purple sector 1. That is good to see. How are we looking for sector 2? Just green. That doesn't really tell us much if we only done one wet lap. And for Gasly here, he does improve up to 3rd, but definitely could have found him a better window to send him out with. Just a bit of bad planning on my side, honestly. But yeah, per second, he did improve. He was looking kind of shifty there before we went into the second run. But this is acceptable. It's not great by any means of the imagination, but with Verstappen down in 11th, with Gasly taking a 10 place drop here, basically Ocon versus Perez, Gasly versus Verstappen is going to be the fight for this race, and we're going to have to try and make the best out of it. So currently these two strategies are equal. The one stopper is about 5 seconds slower than the no stopper. The question that here becomes, can I do something cheeky to make it's not really faster. If we run use standard, this could work. It is slightly quicker than the other other two stoppers, but I'm imagining if we do, say, mediums at the start, we run a full attack, then we go onto the 2 soft stints. I would argue that that is probably going to be quicker, and it is. So this is what we're going to do this race. Let's see if we can make something out of it. We immediately had an incident here in the first corner concerning Hamilton and I believe a Ferrari. As you can see, Hamilton's here, but the Ferrari has vanished. It's a fancy magic trick, but Leclerc has in fact found himself in the wall and is most likely out of this race, as Gasly does get 2 positions there for free. But yeah, I believe the Haas maybe had a little bit of a touch, and then he just gets booted by Hamilton there. So Leclerc just with the classic extra unlucky trait. Curious, but it does look like there is wheel banging with the Haas. He slows down, and then yeah, he just gets sent by by the Mercedes, but it looks like the car is honestly pretty fine, although it went through a wall. So he's still running. That's good. Hulkenberg and Stroll both picked up penalties there. That's great for Gasly, but honestly not great for us. Well, it's not great for us in perspective of Verstappen, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, we'll just have to try and deal with this. Gasly's up into 10th, Verstappen up into 7th. We were able to keep on to the lead, and as you can see, Paris on soft tyres, Verstappen on soft tyres. We'll have a bit of an advantage then towards the end of this race. But yeah, we're definitely going to be trying to push, get overtakes done, as Gasly now makes a move on Russell, and potentially here could make a move on Magnussen too on the straight. So couldn't really get it done, but we are moving up in the grid order, and that's the important part. We're getting close to pit window here, and things have gone well so far. Gasly's made his way up to 4th place, while Verstappen is still stuck behind Stroll. So Gasly has overtaken him, and is currently working on creating a little bit of a gap there. Unfortunately for Ocon, we have been completely unable, really, to get the Paris behind, and he's definitely taken advantage of that DRS train. So it's a bit of a shame here that we are kind of pulling him up to a pretty secure 2nd place at this point. So that is a bit unfortunate for us, but it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. But for now, we are definitely going to be running these tyres as far into the ground as we can before we do pit, unless we do see some of the soft runners start pitting before us. We have Tsunoda, for instance, on old tyres, as he actually does pit. But we should be seeing pit stop starting within the next 2-3 laps. And staying out is actually going to benefit us in the sense that we're not going to get, held up by Norris to basically Sargent's train here. So we're going to try and stay out, use up all of these tyres to the best of our ability, then we shall pit. We just finished our first pit stop, and as you can see here, Ocon did manage to come out ahead of Paris, which is kind of the key. Verstappen has yet to pit, same with everyone ahead of Ocon. And in Gasly's case here, he did come out behind Albon and Alonso, but there is a little bit of a gap to work with, so nothing too terrible. And honestly, we should be seeing basically the cars ahead pitting as well, as Alonso does get out of the way, making it a little bit easier for Gasly to clear Albon here. But what I think we are going to be seeing here now is potentially Verstappen, if he's going to stay out, Sainz if he's going to stay out. We might be seeing them trying a one-stopper. So it could be a bit of an interesting situation here, as both Stroll and Verstappen does pit, and Gasly does clear both of them. And that is kind of the important part here, that we clear both during that pit stop. And while Perez is pushing ahead of Ocon right now, he's using way more tyre than we are. And he's on a harder compound. So it's not really a big deal that he is trying to push ahead right now. We just need to kind of manage our own race. And I'm pretty sure Sainz is going to try a one-stopper, so let's see how that works out for him. Thanks to Sainz trying to push the one-stop here, we've actually ended up with quite a nice gap here, with Ocon overtaking both Sainz and Perez, and then establishing a now 7.5 second gap. And in Gasly's case, we've established a 8-second gap to Verstappen, and we are closing in on Perez ahead. Let's face it here, Perez is going to go onto another tyre after this. He's going to go onto a soft tyre most likely, potentially a used one. And for Verstappen, he's going to have to go to the medium tyre. So we do kind of know that they're on the same strategy that we are. And for Gasly here, he's actually on a kind of a good streak where he can potentially catch up to Perez and maybe even get the overtake done on track before we do pit him. So we're going to try and push here a little bit. We do have a little bit to go on this tyre compared to, well, what we're planning on the next one. And honestly here, we could do the same with Ocon, but I don't think we really need to push too much. We do have a pretty sizable gap here, so there's no real need to take a risk as such. So I'm just going to leave Ocon on his current merry journey, and when Perez pits, we'll have him push and use up the rest of his soft before we pit him onto a new one. So a little bit of different strategy going on here for both Gasly and Ocon, but I think it's the best bet that we have in order to try and secure a 1-2 finish. So Gasly has pit, he came out in 4th with a bit of a clear gap here, no real worries. Ocon is pitting now, and he's actually going to come out behind Verstappen, but Verstappen has opted to pit. So we're now just trying to kind of chase down Perez here for the most part. As both of our cars had pit, Verstappen had to go into the medium tyre, we kind of knew that. And for Perez now, we should actually be able to jump in with both cars once he inevitably does pit. He is in the pits right now. Let's see if Gasly can get him by the end of the pit lane. He can. pretty sizable gap there, actually. So far the strategy has worked out to our advantage. The question is just, can we keep this up until the end of the race? We'll have to wait and see. Perez opted for a fresh set of mediums, which is going to allow him to push a little bit. So potentially here, he might be a bit of a threat still. Perez is giving us a little bit of a struggle here now. He has started pushing as we are getting closer to the final lap. We're actually just starting it, so we have given Gasly every tool in our toolbox here really to try and counter. And unfortunately, it looks like we might just not have what it takes. We'll see though. We still have an entire lap to get this done. And as you can see, Perez has been pushing his tires a bit. But it would be a shame here if we actually do end up losing second place to Perez. But I do believe that Gasly could potentially still make it work. We'll have to see though. He is on high aggression for the overtakes. And just looks like we might just not have enough tire to pull this off. Although we have fuel, we have energy. Just did not have enough to keep it till the end. Bit of a shame there, but it does happen. Ocon did at least secure first place for us here. So it's not all bad. Gasly did run out of fuel though, over the line, as you can see. So he did push it a little bit hard there, but yeah. I think we can still be happy with a 1-3 rather than a 1-2. Particularly considering also that Gasly did have that penalty to contend with. Unfortunately, Perez did snatch fastest lap, so we don't get a huge haul of points there on Red Bull. But still an acceptable amount, I'd argue. And Ocon now is closing in on at least 4th place Leclerc. And Perez here is still in the fight. We kind of still have a bit of a three-way fight here. Just one DNF from Gasly is all he needs for one of these boys to knock him off his perch. So, yeah, it's still looking a little bit threatening. We're getting 9 points here on Red Bull this race here. So if we keep this up, we should get them by the end of the season. We'll have to see, though. It is getting a bit close to close for comfort here, I guess is what they say. So I'll have to see what we do. I do think, however, we are going to have to split it up into probably one more episode, just because I don't have too much time to play. I've been enjoying F124 a little bit. Haven't really played too much of that. But I'll be having a little bit less time to play this week, unfortunately. Okay, design of the new underfloor is done, but we're going to run it through the design once more, because we use CFD time. And see what exactly we end up with. And this is a pretty sizable upgrade. 12, 18, 23, that's good across the board. 17 kph is also not bad. It's going to put us back up into first and low speed. It's going to bump our air tolerance a little bit. And apparently it's also going to bump our extra weight according to this. But I don't know if I believe that. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and design this one. We're going to rush it. We're going to put as many engineers that we can on it. And it'll be done in 19 days. Which means that potentially we'll have both done for Mexico. We might have one done for Austin. We'll have to see just how Lusail and Austin do. They're both sprint weekends, so there's extra points up for grabs. But yeah, Lusail is the puncture capital as well. So that will probably have an effect. We're also getting a pretty close, title fight experience here, which is also kind of why I want to spend a little bit more time on these couple episodes instead of just kind of skipping everything. So I think we'll split it in two just to make life a little bit easier. Car inspection failed. Front wing, rear wing, and suspension. That is a problem. I believe we are manufacturing new ones, which we are. But aren't we also designing a new front wing? I believe we are. 4 days. Okay, so we are having a couple of issues now with parts. We're making suspensions. The underfloor is going to be new, most likely after this race weekend. Having just two does not sit really well with me, but it is what it is. It's not really too much. Did I just I just emergency manufacture that. Yeah, I really wish it would just warn you a little bit more, because I didn't realize we were in a sponsor obligation where I just wasted a bunch of money. That's just because I clicked without reading. So that's kind of my own fault. That is kind of my own fault, but it's also very frustrating that it happens. But yeah, side pods, chassis, we're up to 4 on those. We're up to 4 on the rear wing. So it's the front wing that we're getting now, the suspension that we're already making, and the new underfloor, which will be done for the next race weekend. So this is the new front wing. We're sacrificing a little bit of that brake cooling we got back to get a little bit more cornering. And honestly, I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and make 6 of these. And this is not emergency manufacture, luckily. So that is a-okay. I think we're good. Again, we're not going to design anything else because 1, financially it's not safe. And 2, the small gains aren't worth it either. I'd rather have options financially instead. Month has ticked over. We get some cornering updates for both boys. Braking for Gasly and adaptability for Ocon. Bit unfortunate. But still, pretty good. Pretty good gains all around, I dare say. We're still just going to focus on average chance getting it down. It's not really going down at all, I feel. But that's just how things be sometimes. And we'll be having a pretty tiring weekend here, so I think we'll give us 1 extra day of rest before we put in a couple more pit stop drills. Then we will head into Austin, then Mexico. So I think this will be fine for now. We don't have that many races remaining anyways. There we go. Let us jump into Qatar, which will be today's last race, I think, and then we'll do the rest in another part. Mainly just because Ocon made it interesting with this crash, that's one. But also because we have a little bit of an interesting title fight on our hands, both in terms of drivers, but also in terms of the team. And Ocon is definitely performing better than Gasly at the moment, which also makes it extra interesting, because if he keeps on winning, will he be able to catch up to Gasly and the top? We'll have to wait and see. So with that said, let's just jump into Qatar. Let's see how that sprint weekend goes. And honestly, we're not going to bother with the contracts, because again, 1 season challenge, so just leave them as is. Let's see how the Qatar session goes, and if we have a bit of a surprise there for us, as we will be installing the new suspension on both cars, and we're also going to go ahead and install the new front wings on both cars before we go into the race. And just double checking, I do like to do this just to be on the safe side, but we are basically on the path that we want to be. If we take a look at car analysis now, we are 3rd in low speed, 2nd in high speed. That's a bit surprising. But we're definitely quicker than the Red Bull. Does Perez have a better car? He actually has the better high-speed cornering car. How much is the difference? 20. Okay. What does he sacrifice? Honestly, I am going to have to compare these 2 cars and see what they're doing. So, car 2. Okay, so this... Perez car sacrifices close cornering and medium speed cornering for high speed cornering and top speed. I'd argue that Verstappen definitely has the better car out of these 2. And I'm kind of worried here that is very low brake cooling, 53%. They're doing some interesting things here, Red Bull, let's put it like that. But yeah, we definitely have the better car right now compared to the Red Bull team. There's just no way around that. We beat them in everything but high-speed cornering in terms of Perez's car, but he loses out even more in the low and medium speed as a result. We also have him beat in high speed. So I'm pretty sure that we can be happy with what we've done this season. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the race weekend itself and see if we can close down the gap a little bit more. Maybe catch up to them if we're lucky. Let's see how this weekend ends up. So we qualified 1st and 5th here, Ocon having a bit of a surprise poor performance in Q3. But both Ferraris and also Verstappen are taking penalties, and we should be able to make up some places here during the sprint. As, let's be perfectly honest, this is pretty much puncture valley, puncture HQ, puncture track. There are going to be punctures. And as long as we take care of our soft tires, we're gonna be winning. It's just that simple. We just run this on light, and we'll be able to get overtakes done towards the end of the sprint, no problem. And that's really gonna be all that we need to do to pull out a good result here. Well, a good starting result for the race itself, provided of course we don't crash. That's really the only thing that could cause us some pain. But yeah, I do believe Ocon is going to be starting higher than 5th as a result of just having a good result here. So We're going to speed things along. Let's see how things look once we get close to the end.
Copy that.
Gasly held on to first place, but of course,
What was that?
why do
Now we're
I...
watching Max Verstappen here.
Verstappen!
Tries to get by, and you can see how the cars come together.
Missing an end plate, but should still be fine. The question here is how much damage did the tires take?
Okay, what was going on?
Minor front wing damage. Honestly, I think the play here might be to just pull him in. Well, we can't replace the front wing because we don't actually have an extra one. I don't think we do. We don't. Okay, this put us in a bit of an interesting position where we have been demoted to last place because of an incident, a racing incident. I do kind of believe though getting Ocon in, putting him onto a fresh set of softs there, because again, the softs are going to get used pretty quick, would be a good move. But I also think that what we do here is actually do a... We have him attack before that. We have him try and get as far up the order as he can. Then we put him onto a new fresh tire. And then we work from there. We're going to try and do something a little bit cheeky here. A little bit different. Because Ocon is going to need to get overtakes done to get confidence back up. And that is going to be difficult as is. But I don't really see any other way to get this done. And even if Leclerc is creating a gap here, he's using so much tire that it's not really worth it. And Verstappen here is definitely going to have a puncture by the end of this. Okay. He lost way more tire than Ocon did, but Ocon has been taking care of his tires, so that kind of makes sense.
Just focus on those temps. Copy.
How quickly are we going to burn through a tire? Could we do Can we do 10 laps? Probably not. That's probably a little bit too much to hope for. But if Ocon gets his confidence back up and running, I think we can maybe make it back up in 10th place. We'll have to see. There is going to be some, as I said, there are going to be punctures here. So we will be making back some of these places. Verstappen opted to pit there. Okay. So he's going to be more aggressive towards the end of this, for sure. But yeah, I think this is when we pit Ocon. And we do put him down to standard. Once he does pit on this next lap. And we'll just have to try and make something out of this. Could probably still make something out of it running light, but I don't know. It's difficult to say. Gasly has caught up back to Leclerc. He's, used 50% of his tires within the first 10 laps.
There's a yellow flag.
So, as you can imagine, he's going to have a bit of a hard time going forwards. Ocon is further back, but other cars are pitting too, including Russell, who actually comes out and blocks him a little bit, so... Bit unfortunate here that Ocon has to immediately start fighting again, but we'll see how far up we can move him before the end of the sprint. So final lap has started. Gasly has a good 6 seconds down to Leclerc, and we are getting to that gap where we could see punctures. Ocon has been pushing, is currently trying to get Piastri, but that's probably going to be the last that he can do unless, as mentioned, there are punctures involved, which could very well happen here, but he's still pretty far back here with Gasly just winning right now. And his confidence is peak, so we have put him up on the aggression for the overtakes. But unfortunately, no real punctures that benefited him. But at least he does get Piastri. He's going to be starting 14th. So that's good. Verstappen made it up to 7th, so it is a good recovery. But it is so typical that Ocon is the one involved in an incident and that it punishes him as hard as it did. We'll have to see how big of a penalty Verstappen is taking, though. Magnussen is also taking a penalty. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be moved up a little bit higher than 14th. We'll have to see. We can always hope. And currently, we've been moved up to 12th. So we've been improved by 2 places. I would assume it's Verstappen and Magnussen. And we are going to go ahead here and emergency manufacture a front wing, which is going to cost us a lot of extra money here. So, yeah, that sucks. But that's just, bad planning by me. There's no other way around it. Now, in terms of strategy around this place, we could do a very standard run the softs on light. Run into, say, a hard tire on full attack. Even then, that hard tire is not going to last more than 10 laps. Well, almost 15 laps. I'm wrong. Don't listen to me. I'm stupid. But yeah. I don't think there's any point in running a hard tire here. On attack, it won't really benefit us in any way, shape, or form. Running a medium tire on aggressive could. But let's see if we can do something a little bit better by maybe, just maybe, doing something like this. Gonna be about a second slower. So I think we just do this. We get a pretty aggressive mid stint in. And I think it's just gonna be for the best that we play like that. So we're gonna do the same here for Gasly, who apparently does not have any extra soft tires. Oh wow. Yeah, this is a problem. So for Gasly, this is actually probably the best we can do. Maybe do a little bit lighter here on this, because as you can see, a soft on light is still faster than a medium. So something like this is going to just be what we have to do. It's just going to be how things play out. So with that in mind, let's just jump straight into the race here, see what we can do. It is a close fight. Ocon's going to have a bit of a struggle starting as far back as he does. Maybe it would have been better here to just put him onto the medium immediately. But we're going to try this and see if we can turn it into a good point scoring position. I'm very curious where exactly Verstappen is going to end up. So we have Perez side by side. He's going for the medium. And further back, we have Verstappen in 9. So he didn't actually get the... He had a penalty, but it was just a couple of places. So Ocon then has a little bit of a challenge ahead of him in the sense that he needs to catch up and overtake. And immediately we do lose one position. But we are running light versus cars that are running attack. So that is to be expected. We're going to be coming back towards the end of the stint instead. But yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. We're just going to have to try and make the best out of the situation and work our car forward. So far things have gone well. We've had Ocon just run light and he's made his way up to 5th place. But there have been a couple of cars pitting. The pittings have begun with Stroll, Sainz and Verstappen being the first customers. But yeah, we're definitely pushing now for both cars, and Gasly's actually created a pretty healthy lead out front here, with 14 seconds down to Leclerc. So honestly, things are going very, very good so far. Not really anything that I can complain on, but I do think that we are going to be pitting both Gasly on what is going to be his next lap, and Ocon on this lap. I think that should be, fairly okay to do. Now, Ocon might come out in a little bit of traffic, but there's a lot of cars here that are going to need to pit as well. So I'm not too concerned. And as you can see here, we do have a decent pit stop. Come out a little bit behind Stroll, which is acceptable. And I thought I forgot there for a second to pit Gasly with my focus on Ocon, but we are getting him in now. And as mentioned, with the 14-second gap there, he's kind of pretty safe out front already. So it's just keeping him in a stable position, if you will. And Perez there with a pit stop issue does allow Ocon to gain a ton of time on him now. It's just 6 or 7 seconds between them. So we'll have to see what we can do here. Ocon on that final light soft stint should be pretty strong, I'll be honest. So it's looking very, very promising so far. Let's see if we can keep it going till the end of the race. And Ocon clearing Norris and Stroll here is kind of going to be important, but Norris is going to most likely get out of the way on his own, and then we can just, coast past Stroll. Let's see how it goes. Ocon has caught up now to Perez, and we are kind of getting into a position here where we're going to try and overtake, but instead, Perez kind of just gets out of the way on his own, so we'll take that. That is very much acceptable. Now, in terms of Gasly here, we aren't actually, we're kind of struggling a little bit here, as Verstappen has been pushing and kind of caught up to us. And that could be a problem here towards the end. So we're going to be pushing now. And I do believe Verstappen is going to be pitting on this lap. So we'll have to see exactly how we want to play this now. Because Verstappen has caught up. And he will be fighting Gasly till the end of this race. Now, Leclerc still needs to pit again, most likely. Unless he's going to do a pretty insane 20 laps on those mediums. So we'll see how that goes. But Verstappen now has a lot of clean air. And that is a bit of a concern, but we are going to pit Ocon now. We're going to get him in. We're going to put him on the light tires, the light soft tires, that is. And he's probably going to come out behind Perez here, I would think. So, not the best place to come out, honestly. But, considering that we are going to be taking care of our tyres, and, well, Sainz Alonso going to be pitted out of the way. I do believe Ocon is going to beat Perez at least. We'll have to see if we can actually catch Verstappen. That one is going to be a bit of a bigger deal, if you ask me. But yeah, we're going to be pushing here with Gasly, and we'll have to see what we do here, because Verstappen is on medium tyres. He'll be on those till the end. We could get a little bit of a tyre advantage towards the end. That'll help us out. But even then, it's going to be a bit tricky. So we're going to use up these tyres as much as possible, and then we're going to jump onto a new set of mediums, and then we'll take it from there. So Gasly has just finished his final pit stop here, and we are coming out a little bit behind Verstappen, 1.3 seconds. But we do have enough of a tyre advantage that I don't think that's going to be a big deal here. So honestly, I'm just going to get these tyres up to temp. And I think at that point, we'll just sit behind Verstappen a little bit here. Catch up to him, sit behind him, recharge the battery, recharge some fuel, and just get the overtake done on the last few laps here. Ocon is also doing well. He has gotten up to the back of Ocon. Sorry, on Paris, and he's going to get that overtake done. But yeah, Verstappen is definitely pushing right now. And honestly, I guess we need to run aggressive here just to keep up with him a little bit. But yeah, Leclerc's going to be pitting out of the way. Ocon should be able to clear Paris pretty soon. We'll be helping out with that a little bit. But even then, I don't think we are going to be able to catch up to Gasly and... Oh, Leclerc, you absolute blocker. The fact that Leclerc came out there perfectly in the way, that is frustrating. And he actually is on 85% use softs. So I guess we'll be fighting Leclerc for third then, by the looks of it. That does seem to be the case. And as I mentioned here for Gasly, the main thing with him that we need to worry about is just getting fuel and energy to attack on the last couple of laps. That's going to be the key here, I think. And we do actually have enough tyre now that we could start attacking immediately. But as I said, I do want to kind of harvest, get energy, get everything before we launch a proper attack. So let's see what we can do here. And Leclerc is pushing. By the looks of it, he is 3.5 seconds ahead of Ocon, when they kind of came out around the same time. So yeah, Ocon might be in a little bit of trouble here. We'll see what we can do for him. Gasly has been fully charged here with both, well, basically everything that we need to try and get the overtake done. And we do get the overtake done. Tire-wise, we have a 20% advantage. So Gasly should hopefully now be able to just sail away from Verstappen before we get to that new DRS zone. Although, we do have a bit of a blocker in Magnussen, but he blocks Verstappen way more than he does us, so he's absolutely forgiven. Now, for Ocon here, we have a bit of a tough choice, because if we turn up the tyre usage in any way, shape, or form, he's not going to make it till the end. We also do need to harvest a little bit here, so we actually do have enough ERS to use to, just accelerate. And, yeah, I don't think we're going to get third here, unfortunately. Leclerc has outmatched us a little bit in that regard. It is still 5 laps, it's still 3 seconds, we still do have chances, but the tyre is going to be the biggest concern to getting this done. So we'll try, but I unfortunately have no guarantees, and I do believe that we can potentially turn the tyres up to standard or even full attack in a couple laps time, but we are gaining a little bit here. So if we get within that 2-second mark, maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to launch a final attack. We're currently on the final lap, and for Gasly looks great, 11 seconds ahead of Verstappen. We probably should tune him down just to be on the safe side. For Ocon, it's not looking great at all. We have tried to attack here. We kind of paced ourselves with the tyres as well as we could, but even then, it's not looking too great here for hunting down Leclerc. He was a bit lucky here with Albon, as he caught him on the final straight. Basically, got a little bit of helping of DRS there that kind of extended the gap. But even then, he probably was a little bit too quick for us here, unfortunately. But Gasly does win. Ocon gets 4th, which is a good recovery after the sprint. And once again, both our cars beat both Red Bulls, which is honestly the most important part of any race weekend at this point. But yeah, bit of a shame though that we couldn't get Leclerc. That would have been nice. But yeah, Ocon improving 8 places, we'll take that. And Verstappen and the club boat improving 7 is rather impressive. Our driver sent, Gasly has basically DNF now on Verstappen. That is a fairly healthy lead, gains additional 14 points this race weekend. And unfortunately, Ocon is losing out to all ahead of him, and even Sainz behind him after his tussle. Constructors then, we are getting closer to Red Bull now, just 24 points. And it just looks like this challenge, even with all of his crashes, is going to go our way. Unfortunately though, we did have to spend a lot of money for that front wing, which sucks. So the finances are still in shambles, but it is what it is, and there's not really too much I can do about it, honestly. That's just how it is at this point. We kind of do need to try and manage our finances as well as we can. Honestly, there's no other way around it. And we will try and get the underfloor made, probably one before Austin, just to be on the safe side. But even then, finances, cost cap, we have about 9 million remaining. I just pray at this point that we don't have to buy any more engines. I think we need to buy another gearbox at the very least. But we are getting closer now to a point where financially we might lose out due to cost cap. So we'll have to see how this goes. Unfortunately, I had to cut this one in two. There is actually a lot of interesting stuff happening, kind of, so I'm not feeling too bad about it. It did take me a week to make this though, which is far longer than I wanted to. But it is what it is. F124 came out, and honestly, this year's game was quite disappointing. I was hoping to get maybe 1 or 2 videos out on it during this week, but honestly, nothing really felt too good to me, and that's a bit of a shame. I still enjoyed the driving, but traction is kind of weird this time around, the handling. So yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe I'll take some of the footage that I have and release maybe a driver season supercut. We'll see. But yeah, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you around next time. Bye bye.